They came in, a lot of people with their hands crossed when they started out this tournament. A couple games in now, I think some people have taken their hands and put them in their pockets.
Brendan Aronson cuts it along. Tillman is there! Malik Tillman!
All the stuff he's doing throughout the game, as well as Agyemang.
Agyemang again. Pierrot all the way out. Patrick Agyemang! It's in!
Eventually, if it goes well and they continue this momentum, maybe some people will actually start to clap and embrace this team, because ultimately it's about creating interest, and then from that interest you create people that care, and then from that caring you create people that believe. Hello, sunshine, and welcome to the State of the Union, presented by Yerba Madre, the boost you need when you want to win. Drink Yerba Madre, come to life. I'm Alexi Lalas, and this is where we look at the beautiful game on and off the field through the lens of red, white, and blue colored glasses. This show is live, as it will be throughout this Gold Cup, following each and every day of action. This show, we're going to review Day 9 and our third look at the United States and preview Day 10, which is coming in a couple of days, which will be our last day of the group stage. But first, joining me as always, my friend, my colleague, my guiding light, David Mosse, a soccer savant and a Fox soccer researcher and writer extraordinaire, and special guest, Maurice Edu is back. How are you, gentlemen? Mosse, I'll go to you first.
Well, first off, you and I have the same dilemma as Mauricio Pochettino. Do you rotate guests to get a look at different people, or do you stick with somebody who's working? And we've decided to bring Mo back because his last appearance was terrific.
If Landon Donovan was here, if anybody watched the show today, Mo would be gone. Mo would be gone. I mean, I guarantee last time he was on, he made one mistake, and that's all it takes for Landon Donovan. You are out. We'll talk more about that. Mo, how you doing, my friend? You've been on the road a little bit, huh? You've been all over the place.
A little bit of traveling, I had to pop into Miami and then make my way back this morning.
Nice.
A little stop at the one hotel, little mini getaway.
Yeah,
I guess. It was good though.
We have some days off coming up. You gonna do anything? You head back to Vegas or what?
Yeah, I'll go back to Vegas. The kids have been crying for me. I miss Dad, so I got to go home, check in with the kids, keep them occupied, entertain them for a little bit, and then we got the knockout stages, right?
Do you because you travel a lot? Do you watch anything when you're traveling, or do you read, or what
on planes?
Yeah, on the plane.
No, I sleep.
Did you? You're out. You zonk out.
Even if I try to watch anything or I try to work, I always just fall asleep.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I'm that one light on the 13-hour flight that's just on in the middle of the cabin for the.
So what are you watching these days?
I'll watch anything. I'll just watch anything on the plane.
Yeah.
I'll watch whatever is there. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I can't sleep, so. That's what I do. Mosse, you had something?
Lex, can I address something?
Yes, this sounds very serious. Go ahead.
We pick up a lot of new listeners during the summer, and they're welcome, but they're not that familiar with our show. Mm-hmm. And there have been one or two comments on YouTube about our differing attires.
Oh, you've been going through the comments, have you?
Yes.
Oh, that's always healthy. Yeah.
And, people need to understand we tape these shows right after you're done on TV. Hence why you're wearing a shirt and tie. Mm-hmm. When we do our regular podcast for the rest of the year, you dress like a schlub, just like me. Yes. And by the way, it's not the case tonight, but there has been many a night here where you've had a shirt and tie, but shorts underneath, which people don't see because you're behind the desk.
Business on the top, party on the bottom, my friend. But yes, I mean, Mosse is basically holding the ship together behind the scenes. And the man has to be comfortable, as we know, in order to bring out all of his pearls of wisdom that oftentimes you see play out in terms of what me and Mo and others are doing out there. So, all right, should we light this candle?
Let's do it.
Where should we start, David?
We had the last two matches in Group D, which kicked off simultaneously, including the United States taking on Haiti at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. The U.S. claimed a 2-1 victory. Malik Tillman scored early in the first half. Haiti came back and equalized. Luisia's taking advantage of a Matt Freese mistake. But in the second half, Patrick Agyemang got the winner, so the U.S. finishes with 3 wins out of 3, first place in Group D, and they roll into the quarterfinals.
All right, Mo, winning games in a Gold Cup, winning the group in a Gold Cup, winning every game in a group in a Gold Cup is nothing new. We have seen this many, many times before. However, I don't want to, go overboard. But this particular group, when we came on air at the beginning of this tournament, we said what the reality was. What this is a new collection of players, a lot of inexperienced players, a lot of younger players. And so first part of that mission has been accomplished. So after this group stage and after what we saw today, where is this group in terms of the reclamation project, if you will, of hearts and minds out there?
Well, winning is a cure for a lot of things.
It's true. Yep.
Right? Winning helps to, we talked a little bit about this on air. Winning helps to reinforce ideas, cultural changes, everything that Mauricio Pochettino is trying to inject into this team. Winning helps to strengthen all these things, right? Winning helps when you have a fan base that's been frustrated, that's been disappointed, that's felt left out, and disappointed coming into this competition. And as you said, for a new group of players that are trying to grow, trying to earn spots on the roster ultimately for next summer, winning helps that case. So where are they? They're still in a maturation process. I think this group stage was important for them because they faced 3 different opponents and they had to win games in 3 different ways. The first game was a pretty, respectfully to Trinidad, it was an easier game, right? It was an easier opponent that we faced, but
Landon called them a high school team.
High school team is what he called them. It's
all right. That's okay.
Harsh, but it's maybe true to a certain extent. But the U.S. did what they needed to do. They came out high energy, good on both sides of the ball, 5 goals, done. Saudi Arabia, different beast. They set up and they made the game difficult. They didn't allow any space centrally. Some of the guys who had really good games in the first game struggled to find those same opportunities, but we still found a way to win, set pieces. And now this third game, it was interesting. We were talking about it as well. Take the lead, great start. You feel like we're going to roll them from then. But then Haiti get back into the game. So this is the first goal this group has conceded in this competition. So now it's almost a gut check, a character check. They didn't need to win this game. A draw would see us through its first place, but they found a level of resiliency. They kept attacking. They kept their foot on the gas, and they had multiple opportunities to score more goals, but ultimately they find a way to get that go-ahead goal, and they win the game. So I'm pleased with that, and I hope that growth continues as we get to the knockout rounds where games are even – there's more significance. There's more you just want to go home.
Yeah.
Right? So there's more urgency.
All right. So let's look at what Pochettino did for this game. We knew – well, we didn't know, but I think people believed that because of the yellow card situation to Berhalter and to Luna, that those guys weren't going to play, and they didn't play. And it still gave an opportunity for some other players to come in, including the first time where we were seeing Tyler Adams come into the midfield. John Token got the start over there on that left-hand side. Other than that, Matt Freese continues on a goal, the same back line, except for Token on that left-hand side. Luca Della Torre came in. Quinn Sullivan came in. Brendan Aronson. Let's see. Malik Tillman continued on, and then Patrick Agyemang up top. So some definite changes, not wholesale, but certainly enough. And we've seen with what Canada did, where it can mess up your mojo going forward. It didn't. I thought at times they looked good. They developed pretty quickly together. Mosse, I'll go to you in terms of when you saw the lineup come out. What intrigued you, and then as the game progressed, what were you focusing in on?
I thought the changes all made sense. Aronson provided the assist on the Tillman goal, and Token provided the assist on the Agyemang goal. So 2 of the new players left their mark. Tyler Adams did Tyler Adams things. He did pick up a yellow card in the first minute of the game, but after that settled down and played well. So I think it does create some interesting lineup decisions for Pochettino in the quarterfinals, but it's a good problem to have. The U.S. flexed their depth a little bit today.
When we were talking on set today about Brendan Aronson, there was a discussion that we had about what his ceiling is, and to be quite honest, something that I have submitted: has he hit his ceiling? And if this is as good as it gets with Brendan Aronson, he's not the only one that I think this applies to. Is it good enough? I thought he had a really good game. I thought he came out and obviously imposed himself. And you play the team that's in front of you. I don't think it necessarily changed my opinion that Brendan Aronson has this incredible ceiling that's still there. But he did what he needed to do in this game. In that, again, maybe he planted or replanted a seed in Pochettino's head that, if you give me the opportunity, I am going to go out there and I'm going to. The work ethic for Brendan Aronson has never been in question. It's just whether is this good enough. Wonderful assist to Malik Tillman on the first goal. We'll talk about Tillman in a second because he just keeps getting better and better and better, and it, I think, is emerging as the star for this team so far in this tournament. I know you've followed Aronson and the Aronsons and all that over the years. So you've seen his trajectory. Explore a little bit more about how good you think he can be, or is this as good as it gets when it comes to him?
I can't. No, I'm not going to write off Brendan yet in terms of him hitting his ceiling. I think there can still be more to come. I was just looking up his age. He's still 24 years old, right? Still 24 years old on a European journey. Leeds have just qualified. They're back in the Premier League, so he'll have an opportunity to play against some top competition and continue to progress and grow as a player. But I do think that it's valuable and of the utmost importance for him when he does get these moments with the national team to make his mark. Mosse pointed out he gets the assist on the first goal, and it comes from, I would say, in true Brendan Aronson fashion, right? Where he arrives initially, he's in the right spot. If that ball gets cut back to him a little bit better from Agyemang, maybe he's taking the strike on first time and finishing himself. But it doesn't work out that way. And you'll see it here, right? He's arriving late into the box. If that ball is cut in front of him, he's able to maybe take the strike on, but he sticks with the play, right? This is part of what he brings to this team, that energy, that
perseverance.
Perseverance, exactly. And then the ability to play in an inch-perfect ball to the far post for Malik Tillman to finish off. So do I see him as a starter with this group or this pool going forward? No. But I think he's a good depth piece to have. He can play multiple positions, whether it's a wide position, centrally, depending on how we set up tactically. But I can see him still being a part of this group. He has to earn that, right? And make the most of his opportunities if they come and when they do come. But no, I'm not going to write him off just yet.
Right. So the question is if any of these 4 changes he made today will stick. Now let's stipulate Tyler Adams is the starter. Yep. He just didn't start the first 2 games because he was battling an injury. So I don't think there's any question that he's now going to start from this point forward. But as far as the other 3, you just said you don't think Aronson has done enough to overtake Luna. What about Quinn Sullivan versus Jack McGlynn and Tolkien versus Arfston?
No, I think I would stick with the front 4, right? In the first 2 games especially, they showed a good understanding, a good blend. And it might just come from playing more minutes together so far in this competition.
So for you, it's basically the lineup from the first 2 games plus Tyler Adams in place of De La Torre.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to some other players, good and bad, let's get to the star of the game, all right? It is time for the boost of the game presented by Yerba Madre. Yerba Madre, the boost you need when you want to win. Drink Yerba Madre, come to life. Malik Tillman, it's not a coming out party for him because we have seen him before, and he's obviously a good player. I guess from a scoring perspective, he really likes the 2025 Gold Cup. He's getting his first goals, but it's so much more than the goals, and so much so that earlier today I put out my top players from the U.S. team so far in the tournament, and if I had to do it after the 3rd game, I did it before the 3rd game. There's a really good chance that he would have inched above Chris Richards.
Your shining star, Chris Richards.
Chris Richards. Okay. He has been that impressive. And I'm not just talking about the goals. His defensive work, and he had goals called back. And I don't know what's gotten into him or he's just feeling it right now and maturing in front of our eyes. But unlike others who I think are kind of vying for that 12 through 26 spot and take goalkeepers away, I think he is really, we talk about planting the seed a lot. I think he is really planting a seed to be considered for a starting 11 if and when everybody is back. And that's fun to see. Thoughts on Tillman before we move on to some other guys?
We talked about this going into the tournament. You had these players who had been very good at club level and it hadn't translated yet for the national team, like Tillman, Johnny Cardoso, even Chris Richards to an extent. And could Pochettino unlock that key? It hasn't happened yet with Johnny, but with the other 2, Richards and Tillman, it's really happened. Tillman had no international goals going into this Gold Cup. He now has 3 in 3 games. He scored another one in the second half that was chalked off for an offsides. He's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I agree with you. He is a potential starter in 26. You could tell the way Pochettino talks about him. That fight or die quote that got a lot of attention, that was actually him talking about Tillman initially. And you also have Luna as well. So I keep saying, I really wonder about Gio Reyna moving forward because it sounds like it wasn't the Club World Cup. He wasn't going to be called up, period, for this Gold Cup. And Pochettino now has 2 other players he really likes at that position. Now, Luna is being shunted out to the left, but he could play as a 10 as well. So I really wonder where Gio Reyna falls right now in Pochettino's number 10 pecking order.
All right, Agyemang got the winning goal. got a goal,
Mm-hmm.
a real goal, not a goal that just hit off his rear end or anything.
They
like
all
that.
count.
I know they all count. But not only was it the winning goal, but it was a really nice goal.
It was.
And he had a lot of work to do once he rounds the goalkeeper. I mean, just to round the goalkeeper was wonderful presence and awareness of where he was. And then it looks like a simple finish, but it's not. And you have to have composure, and everything has to slow down for you in that moment to then pass it over the line and calculate everything, especially with players running back. And so there's an element of being happy for him to have that, because we've harped on the fact that while he does a lot of good stuff and he makes himself available and he causes problems, and I do think that defenses kind of have to keep an eye on him. He's not world class yet. Who knows if he will be? And ultimately, he's the striker, and you got to score goals. And so this has got to feel very, very good for him. Not complete validation, because everybody recognizes his value, right? But we talked about ceilings. I think he's got much more to grow out there. But again, is this as good as it gets? Because there is a wide open kind of competition still for that striker position.
What I liked so much about Agyemang's goal, and if we could see that again, it'd be great, is that he rewards himself, right? He finally rewards himself in this competition. He gets the goal you mentioned earlier in the, the first game, and it bounces off him. But he makes this kind of run all game long, where he's on the shoulder of defenders and just making that run into channels or sometimes from a central position. But I like this goal so much because he checks his shoulder, right? He sees the space that he's attacking. He checks his shoulder, sees where the goalie's coming out, and that's what dictates where his first touch is. And then you're right, Lex. So many times he's gotten into favorable positions in and around the 18, and maybe he has lacked that poise or that moment right there where you take a pause, you give yourself that little half beat to just regain your composure and slot home. This time he does it, and so I'm happy for him. I'm pleased to see him get that goal, and I hope that this is not to say a kickstart of confidence for him, because it doesn't seem like he lacks confidence. He seems like he's always playing with a smile. He knows his strengths and the qualities that he brings to a team. But now, if he can consistently finish off opportunities, whether they're moments like that or they're half chances where it's just an instinctual one-touch finish, or you've done well to create some leverage with a defender, and he's able to get that strike on goal, force a save out of the keeper, right? Hit the target. Those little small details, either they lead to you scoring more goals or they lead to you creating chances for your teammates to finish off plays.
It's not quite confidence, but it's proof of concept, I guess, if you will, a personal proof of concept. I can do this. I just did it, and now you kick on. Mosse?
It's not always pretty, but just to put some numbers on it, it's 5 goals in 9 games for the U.S. this calendar year, 2 and 3 games at this Gold Cup, and he's a load to play against. He presses well without the ball, which is something Pochettino likes. I think in a squad of 26, there is a role for him at the next 100%. World Cup. Even if Pepe and Balogun are there, Pochettino might take 3 strikers and might want somebody like Agyemang around.
All right, a couple more things on this game. We got to talk about Matt Freese and this moment. We've talked about the fact that there is competition for the goalkeeping position. Matt Turner has kind of opened that up. And so I think it's legitimate. We also talked about the fact that the first 2 games, he was rarely in a situation where he had to make saves, rarely tested. As I said on air today, as you get closer and closer to your goal, it becomes much more magnified, and there are much more consequences to mistakes. And this was a mistake. Now, I think this was a series of mistakes, actually. I think he could have come out and got the ball that came over the top. I think obviously, when he gets played back the ball, and I think Tim Reba would be the first to admit that it was a hospital ball and it was not the kindest of balls, but still, you got to do better than to give it directly to the opponent. And then the third mistake was, all right, you gave it away. It's still a pretty tough angle, and you still let the goal in. Landon Donovan has Mr. Freese already on a plane out of there. And a part of me agrees that this is not AYSO. This is the national team. This is not a charity. And there is a kind of reality show that's going on where you're being tested. And if you don't live up to it, even in that moment, you gotta move on. I know you don't agree with that. You think that Matt Freese is going to continue on in this tournament. I do too. But I think Landon thinks that with or without this blunder here, he's not the answer. And so we should move on no matter what.
So listen, if it was already predetermined that Matt Freese was going to play the group stage and Matt Turner was going to play the knockout stage, that's a different conversation. But if you say to me that I want to learn about a different goalkeeper beyond Matt Turner because I know what he's capable of and I know what he can do, then the first moment that your keeper is actually tested and he's put into a moment of adversity and he comes up a little bit short, I'm not on the side of like, let's just throw this kid out. I would say, okay, you had that moment. You reacted throughout the rest of that game. I think he had, maybe a save or two after that. But now a real test of adversity for 90-plus minutes in a knockout game where a mistake like that has even larger consequences. I want to see how he performs there. I'm going to learn more in that moment about this kid because he's had this mistake. So I'm going to learn how he's able to shoulder that, how he's able to respond. I'm going to learn more in that game there than I'll learn in the previous 3 games he played in this Gold Cup. So that's why, in my mind, I would keep him in the lineup for the quarterfinal or for the knockout game, the quarterfinal. And I don't think that in doing that, it's jeopardizing the U.S. having a chance to win the game.
Mosse?
I think it's simple. You go with the goalkeeper that you think gives you the best chance to win in the knockout stage. To me, player evaluations go out the window at that point. So we're going to find out how much confidence he's lost in Matt Turner, who, to your point, has made a lot of mistakes lately in the friendly against Switzerland. One of their goals, he spilled this rebound to Breel Mbolo. And we're going to find out how much he likes Matt Freese, if he's so high on him that he can just write off this mistake as an aberration. So it's going to be fascinating for sure, because we all thought Zach Steffen and Patrick Schulte were the threat to Turner.
Yeah.
And those guys dropped out due to injuries. So it left Matt Freese, and we thought, well, okay, then Turner's probably safe if it's just Matt Freese as his competition at this Gold Cup. But Pochettino does seem to like Freese, so he's going to give him an opportunity.
Before we spin it ahead to the U.S. Playing the knockout rounds against Costa Rica, you want to take us through the other games, and let's talk about that before we look ahead.
So the other match in Group D, which took place in Las Vegas, Saudi Arabia, Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago took the lead with one of the goals of the tournament so far.
Huh?
Dante Sealy, what a strike.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Watch the celebration.
Right. He's like, yeah, this is
do
who I
this.
am.
I
I
do
do this all the time.
You
Evidently.
guys relax. This is what I do, all right?
Relax. I mean, when was the last time you did this? We're going crazy because you don't do this a lot. So, all right.
But then Saudi Arabia came back in the second half, equalized through Al Burakan, 1-1 the final. They go through. We had Qatar reach the semis in 21. Now we have Saudi Arabia through to the quarter. So these invited guests performing pretty well of late.
And obviously, there's a bigger picture when it comes to Saudi Arabia, and if and when they qualify for next summer, they have literally gotten the lay of the land, and that might serve them well. I mean, Saudi Arabia is a better team than Qatar, so who knows? Maybe they will look back, and I know this isn't the full team because of the Club World Cup, but maybe they will look back and say, "Hey, we learned a lot playing in that Gold Cup a year ago."
Then later in the day, we had the last 2 matches in Group A. The Dominican Republic and Suriname were both eliminated already. They played to a scoreless draw in AT&T Stadium in Arlington. And then the big one, which had U.S. fans' attention because it was going to determine the U.S.'s quarterfinal opponent, Mexico and Costa Rica played to a 0-0 draw at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Costa Rica was a team that needed to win, but Mexico had all the best chances. Raul Giménez denied by Keylor Navas, and then late Santi Giménez scored what we thought was a sensational winner. It was chalked off for an offsides. You guys didn't agree with it, so that became the big talking point at the end of the match.
Yeah, we didn't agree with it in that there was an interpretation of the law, and I can agree that somebody interpreted it that way, and in this case, the referee crew was actually, to be fair to the referee crew, very quick in identifying it. Referee went over, the VAR looked at it and said, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about here, and immediately called it off. And, according to the laws, you can make a case for why this should have been called off, in that it wasn't an actual play on the ball. It was, in this case you're making, much more of a deflection when the Costa Rican player goes up and heads the ball that ultimately lands at Santi Giménez. That's fine, but it's a little weak. And I can make the argument the other way, in that you're going up and you're heading the ball. But whatever. I mean, he was denied a wonderful goal. I don't think he was robbed of a goal, because you can make that case when it comes to but in the moment, you're looking around. I was like, well, where's the offside, and how is that possible, and how is he gaining an advantage? And there's a play on the ball, and this is a new phase of the game. And all right, so you move on. But it sucks to not have that in your catalog now.
Oh my God. For Santi Giménez especially, he started the first game, himself and Raul Giménez. And then you can view it how you want to view it. The next 2 games, he didn't start. He didn't start for Mexico. Comes off the bench, scores what we thought was, as Mosse said, a sensational goal. And just more so from the player standpoint, what that does for a player who hasn't scored in this competition, it gives him confidence going into the knockout rounds. So hopefully he still takes confidence from the fact that he finished off the play, although it didn't count. I actually had a similar moment happen to me where I thought I scored a goal and it was taken away from me in a big moment and frustrating as hell, but I digress. But the thing that I take away from that game was Costa Rica knew that if the result held, if they didn't win the game, that they were going to be second place facing the U.S. And there was never really a moment where I felt like they took the initiative, that they tried to be the aggressor, that they tried to really gamble, commit numbers forward to go and get a winner in that game.
You think they were content because they're playing against this U.S. team?
I don't know. I don't know if it's
we'll take
content,
our chances against the U.S.
I don't know. I don't. It threw me off because I thought for sure that we would see some level in the last, let's say, 15 minutes, 10 minutes where you gamble and try to go get a winner in that game, and it just never, ever came to fruition. It was actually the opposite. It was Keylor Navas making save after save after save to deny Mexico finding a winner.
Although that's scary from a U.S. perspective to see Keylor Navas get his mojo back. But so the 0-0 draw there meant Mexico top Group A, Costa Rica advance in second. So Mexico will face Saudi Arabia in the quarterfinals Saturday. U.S. Costa Rica Sunday in Minneapolis, live on Fox. By the way, it's a rematch of the 2002 Gold Cup final that the U.S. won. A young Landon Donovan played in that game. Landon, by the way, he was talking out of both sides of his mouth because late in the match, Costa Rican striker Manfred Ugalde picks up a dumb yellow card, which means he's suspended for the match against the U.S. And Landon says, well, they shouldn't have had him in the game. That's Miguel Herrera's fault. But at the same time, he's criticizing Costa Rica for not pushing for the winner to avoid playing the U.S. So which one is it, Landon? Or should they go for it or no, pull back and accept that they're going to face the U.S.?
Well, from a U.S. perspective, the fact that there were yellow cards and they are going to be missing important players, that's a good thing as they take them to Minnesota. If they are, secretly or even, very publicly, very confident about facing this particular U.S. team, all right, fine, bring it on. But as from a U.S. perspective, between playing Mexico and being and this Costa Rica team, I'll take this Costa Rica team all day. And as I mentioned yesterday on the show, your pathway matters. And the easier pathway, you should want that. And they got that. So they got the U.S. has no excuses. You go into Minnesota, I think it's going to be a very pro-U.S. crowd there. And I think they should go in feeling that they can absolutely beat this Costa Rica team and move on to the semifinals.
I agree with you. I agree with you that, the ideal situation, if we were to draw it up, knowing that's what the group we're matching up against, you would prefer to play Costa Rica. That being said, you now recognize that it's a win-or-go-home scenario. Costa Rica has to approach the game with a different mentality and maybe, I don't want to say an arrogance, but a confidence going into that game, although they'll be missing a couple key players. But for the U.S., it's about just recognizing the moment. Whatever 11 plus that Pochettino decides to field on that day, I want to see the same level of intensity that we saw them start the tournament off with against Trinidad. I want to see the same level of execution, right? Whether that's from set pieces that we saw against Saudi Arabia. And then I want to see that resiliency, that ability to, regardless of the game state, if you're up a goal early on, if you concede a goal, that they still show a willingness, a togetherness to find a way to get back into the game and ultimately advance to a semifinal.
Anything on the Dominican Republic Suriname?
No, you're going to have to go real deep on that. So what do we have to look forward to on Tuesday, Mosse?
So Tuesday, the group stage comes to a close with the final matches in groups B and C. You've got in Group B, Canada against El Salvador, and then Honduras against Curacao. Then Group C, Panama, Jamaica, and Guatemala, Guadeloupe. Interesting thing there is all 4 quarterfinal spots still up for grabs. All 8 teams playing still alive to claim them. Panama and Canada in the best position in their respective groups. I assume those 2 teams will advance, and it's a question of who else will join them.
All right, so we have a dark day tomorrow. We will not have a show. We will have some time off. But I know you want to talk some Club World Cup action before we get to the end here.
Yeah, this was actually a day where the European teams flexed their muscles a little bit, other than Salzburg that drew Al Hilal 0-0. But the other three games, Real Madrid played most of the match down to 10 because of an Asensio red card, but they still beat Pachuca fairly comfortably, 3-1. Bellingham, Valverde, and Arda Güler with the goals there. Then Juventus beat Wydad Casablanca 4-1. Weston started. Timmy Weah was an unused sub. Yildiz got 2 goals. Vlahovic got 1 as well. And then Manchester City smacked around Al Ain. Gundogan with 2. Holland got 1. Claudio Echeverri, this young Argentine, got 1. Oscar Bob, Ryan Cherky, who they just signed. So, we've been talking about the European team struggles, but not today. They handled their business pretty well.
Yeah, it's turning into a really interesting tournament, and some big crowds and some exciting, on-field play and some exciting kind of news and stories coming out of it. So that's fun. Again, we said as long as people are kicking a soccer ball, we are there. All right, as we end this up, a couple of things. Shout out to the dude that keeps dressing up as me at all the U.S. games. I will buy him a beer. I mean, he always has one in his hand. But I will buy him another one so he can double fist out. There he is. Look at him.
That goatee is legendary, though.
Oh my goodness. I hope he doesn't get his ass kicked. It's a sincerest form of flattery, but I got plenty of baggage out there. So, and then finally, a little bit of history. This can kind of be our, normally on a show we do our one for the road. So 31 years ago today, I know exactly where I was. I was just actually down the road at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and we were part of just a incredible day, an incredible moment, historic moment when it comes to soccer. It was the day that the World Cup, our second game of group play in the 1994 World Cup, and we ended up beating Colombia. For those that don't remember, Colombia was one of the favorites at the time, so it was just it was a magical type of moment, and we celebrated this historic event. And there's pictures, and we did the things with the flags, and it was just a cathartic, celebratory type of moment. Inevitably and understandably, the Andres Escobar own goal, which happened in that game, and then his murder 10 days later, is going to be attached and always is going to be a part of the story of that day. I've been asked about that game every single year since then. I've done plenty of interviews where people want to talk about that game. And each and every time I try to make the point of we, and I say we, those of us that participated in it, we've tried to separate out the two things. It's next to impossible, but we try to do that in that the celebration and the joy that we felt in that moment when that whistle blew was the accomplishment of something, because for all intents and purposes, we had gotten out of the group. And this was not something that we planned. We had the best laid plans, but beating Colombia 2-1 was not something that we planned. And so there's that part of that moment that I will cherish forever, being a part of it with all of those guys and the celebration and the way the kind of country celebrated that in a really infancy of the game, and certainly in our first World Cup. And then there's the other part of it that, as I said, will always be a part of that story. And I think I can speak for all of us that were on that team. If by losing that game, somehow Andres Escobar was still here, we would all gladly lose that game. But it is part of history. It is part of our history. And alas, we lost him, and it was just an incredibly sad and surreal moment within the World Cup, because we were actually still in the World Cup when the news came down. And as I said, it was surreal and difficult to comprehend at the time. And there are wonderful stories and books and obviously documentaries out there where you can see more of the story. But my continued and all of our continued condolences to his family, because this day must come out. It comes out every single year, and I'm sure the way that they think of it can be different. But I also want to recognize that from a soccer perspective, a pure soccer perspective, and an American soccer history perspective, it was an incredible day for us, and we celebrated that.
I still say my single favorite 30 for 30 is the two Escobars. I thought they did an incredible job telling that story.
Yep. And the pressure that Colombia team was under, a lot of it that we didn't know at the time. So it all kind of came out later.
Can
Mo,
I
thanks
end
again.
on a lighter note?
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry, Mo. Let's bid farewell to you first.
Okay, let's bid farewell to Mo. Mo, what do you got for us? To take us off?
That's powerful. And I remember I was a kid when that happened. I was 8 years old during that World Cup, and I don't think that I really fully processed or understood how the two things were related in the way that they were. Right? Obviously, the celebrations, the joy that I felt as an American, as a fan, witnessing that moment that you guys experienced. And then, as the news filtered in days later about Andres Escobar being killed, I don't think that I, as an 8-year-old, fully was able to receive the way that I could receive it now, right? And in years later, able to really digest everything. But I think you really spoke well there.
But you're a defender, and we've all put the ball in our own net. It just,
100%.
It happens. And we don't know to the extent how much that was a part of it, but even if it was just any part of it, it's just ridiculous. And again, every player has done that. Obviously, he did it at the highest level and in front of billions of people. And it happens. It happens to absolutely every player at some point in your life. Mosse, yes.
Just to end on a lighter note, we talked about the decision Pochettino has between Matt Turner and Matt Freese. We have our own decision here because Sean Sullivan's been away at a wedding.
Yep.
Kyla Morris has been producing the pod the last few nights. She's done an incredible job. Sean is going to come back now. He's going to expect to have his job back on Tuesday. I'm not so sure about that. You and I will talk about it. We'll have meeting.
2 words. Wally Pip.
Yes.
Well, we'll have a talk offline, as they say in the business over there. Mo, thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. And we'll take a little downtime, like we said. Tomorrow we will be off, so just give us a little grace here. But we'll be back, and until then, keep doing everything that you do, because keep downloading and reviewing and subscribing and rating and all the different things when it comes to the State of the Union. Oh yeah, I got my yerba madre here. Oh, okay, I love it. Keep pounding those buttons over there on the old YouTube, up and down. Smash it. YouTube and X and Instagram and I don't know, even platforms that I don't even know of. We'll talk to you again in a couple of days. All right, everybody take a nice deep breath and then come right on back here to the State of the Union. And until then, and as always, my friends, size the day.